Alright guys, we're back with another video, and this one is probably the long-awaited Alclad Chrome. Now this is how I go about it, some tips and tricks, stuff I've learned, stuff I found out, do's and don'ts. It may seem simple, it looks great though, but this is my process. I found that this works for me, I get what I want. It may be extra steps compared to what other people do, but this is what I like, and so far it's been great. Okay, so basically, we're going to be Alclad chroming his bracelets. So basically, first is filler primer. I fill up primer my whole statue, find all my mistakes, make sure everything's looking good, and get it to where I'm happy. Yes, I do my chrome first before I paint my statue, because I found that if you do paint the statue and then you go to chrome the bracers, it may not be super smooth. You may get some bubbles. I'd rather do it first, mask it off, and then work off that because it's easier. As you can see, we'll get into this a little bit. So basically, filler primer. Then I do my Sandable Primer. Basically, that's all the black you see in here. That just gets all, make sure I haven't messed anything up, make sure everything's looking good, get them nice and smooth and everything. Now, the next step is primer sealer, which is this right here, and it even says on the can improves gloss. Now I found that if you go from filler primer to sandable primer and then you use your gloss coat, your gloss paint, black, white, whatever you use, you get some kind of a reaction. I've seen bubbles, I've seen cracking, I just seen some crazy stuff. And I just, growing up with my parents and uncles, cousins working on cars, I've always followed their steps on how they do car paint. So basically, I decided to try out primer sealer. So right now, as you can see, you got all the black, but all this gray is primer sealer. What we'll do is we'll get in a little bit closer here for you. And basically what it is, you can see it's kind of smooth. I sprayed a little heavy, and basically that seals it. So now you got a nice smooth surface that's sealed, and basically, I found that when you go do your gloss coat afterwards, you don't run into any of these bubbles, you don't get any of these cracks, it goes on smooth, and it works out great. So basically, and also make sure all your cans are in room temperature. Keep them in the house, but don't spray in the house, spray outside of the house. You don't want to spray in the winter time. I found that in winter with cold cans will just give you a headache that you'll go nuts. Springtime, summertime is good. You don't want to do it in the sun because sun will crack everything up. You want to do it in a nice shaded area, cool, like a garage, maybe a shed. This is where you want to do all this stuff. And you want to keep your cans room temperature all year long, otherwise you just run into problems. Now, Alclad Chrome, people will tell you use gloss black. Gloss black is great, it works fine, but I found that gloss white really gets a really nice Alclad shine. Really gets things going. It's bright. So if you kind of mess up with the Alclad Chrome a little bit, like you wiped a little bit off, you still got that white gloss, and I think it just works better, at least for what I do. So basically now at this step, he's primed, he's ready for paint, he's got the primer sealer on. Now what I'm going to do next is I will do the acrylic enamel gloss coat. But I will not do this now because today I did the primer sealer. I'm going to let him settle overnight. I don't like to rush this stuff. I'd rather do it once in the morning, let it sit all night, come back the next day. If not, I'd rather do it the following weekend. I don't like rushing this stuff because even though these cans say 20 minutes and it's fully dried, it's actually BS. It's not. I found that maybe, even if it sat in the sun for friggin' 20 minutes, you could come in and, let it dry, sit for 5 more minutes, and it still might be soft, and I'd rather let this paint get really hard and settled. So basically what I'm going to do is let this sit for this week, because I'm going to come back next weekend and do this, and I'll do the enamel gloss white, so this way you can see how smooth it is and everything works out. And then the next step after that, once that settles, is the Alclad Chrome, and then from there we can color it, we can seal it, and we can do all the other stuff. So basically, this is the chemicals and everything I use. I use DupliColor. I like DupliColor the best. I've seen Krylon, I've seen other paints. I like the way this works and everything goes nice and smooth. So we'll be back when we do the gloss coat. Okay guys, we're back and we have the white gloss coat on the bracers. Basically I did this morning. I'm not going to actually chrome these probably until the weekend, and it's Wednesday night. So the reason why I'm going to let this sit a while is because even though, like I said before, the can says it takes 20 minutes to dry, I've put my fingerprints on these stuff that says it would be 20 minutes to a half hour, and you can still kind of leave a fingerprint on the stuff, and that's what you don't want. So I'd rather let this dry a couple days and really get hard and create a nice candy shell, so this way when you do the Alclad and you go to buff, it really buffs to a shine. By trying to rush Alclad, you just don't get that mirror finish. You take your time, you do it in a couple days here and there while doing other projects, you get a really good chrome finish. This is the way I work, this is how I do it, but I think it's the best way. So basically what we'll do is go in here and you can see we got a nice shine to the bracers. It's nice and smooth. Basically, even though this over here and this is over here, we're going to chrome around, what I'm going to show you is basically you can still apply paint after you do all this by scoring the paint. And I'll get into that later when we're ready to paint up the figure after I do the chrome. But you can see, you know, it's nice, shiny, it's all even. We don't have any bubbles, we don't have any cracks, don't have any you know, any kind of mess ups. I did spray it a little thick, but that's because spraying it thicker is better than trying to do it thin. And I did it right out of the can. So that's pretty much where we're at now. So when we come back, I'll be doing the chrome, show you how I buff, and then what we'll do is we'll do a yellow candy coat over there, so this way you can see, you can get it like, what do they call it, anodized chrome or aluminum type stuff. So we'll be back.